Welcome to the Cecil County Legislative Session for May 21, 2013. This is known as session number 13-10. We have a quorum. All 5 council members are present. And I'm calling the meeting to order. And I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everyone please rise?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first business item on our agenda today is the approval of the meeting minutes from our last legislative session day, 13-09. These meeting minutes have been provided to the council members in advance. Are there any corrections or additions to the meeting minutes? Hearing no additions or corrections, may I have a motion to approve?
I'll second it.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes for May 7th. Is there any further discussion? May I have those in favor of approving the motion to say aye? Aye. Is there any opposed? The motion is approved 5-0. The next item is public comments. We have, if you haven't signed up, please sign up at the lectern. We'd ask you to limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. Please speak to the council and not to other members of the audience. We appreciate it, and you've done a great job in the past of being civil and respectful to each other in the audience and the council members. So the first speaker would be
June Reason. Reason.
It's close, Jim. Yes. That's me.
June Reason, 632 Conelingo Road, Conelingo, Maryland. I'm speaking to you for the first time as a regular citizen. In the past, I've spoken to you as a county employee, but I've been retired now about 6 weeks. And the topic I want to address is the same topic, but I'm looking at it from a little different perspective now. I'm talking about part-time employees. And I'm really happy to see that you're giving benefits to part-time employees who are employed 30 to 39 hours. I recognize, as most of us know, that this is a requirement of the Affordable Care Act, often known as the Obamacare Act. But it is a requirement, so that you must do. When you do that, you're doing it for people 30 to 39 hours. But you're looking at them as full-time employees. I'm not sure from what I read. What if they're 25 hours county and 10 hours contract? Are they eligible for the benefits? So that needs to be defined. I could not find that definition. So I'm just putting that out to you. I also noted that these people who are 30 to 39 hours have no grievance policy, that they cannot aggrieve anything. Well, they're working almost as much as a full-time employee, so please give some consideration to that. Also, there was nothing that I could see that said anything about leave requirements for them. As a part-time employee, when I worked, I was allowed 6 hours a year, earning 4 hours a month, leave, 6 days, excuse me, 6 days a year, earning 4 hours a month. Okay, but when a person works 35, 39 hours, as I did, because the last few years I worked above 30 hours those last 4 years, I still only received 6 days a year. That just doesn't seem right. Just doesn't seem right. You're expecting them to be there as much as a full-time employee, except for a few hours, and you're only giving them that limited amount of leave. And I also know that full-time employees are allowed to carry over leave. Well, if you only have 6 days a year, you're probably not going to be able to carry it over, but what if they wanted to? Would they be allowed to? So those are just some thoughts that I have as a former employee, not a disgruntled employee, because I knew it wasn't going to happen. But I just want you to consider those things when you look at the human resource policies for people who are 30 hours and over. And maybe consider the fact that anyone who is over 20 hours a week leave actually should be eligible for more than the 6 days a year leave. You could do it incrementally. You could look at it in different ways. And again, I'm going to suggest, consider buy-in for health insurance. You're now stuck, you've got to do it for those people 30 and up, but you might consider the buy-in. And I'm not saying buy-in at 50%, consider options for buy-in. Health insurance is a major issue for everyone now. Thank goodness I'm going on Medicare in August. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Al Reason.
Got that right.
Al Reason, 632 Conowingo Road, Conowingo. Since President Hodge has reevaluated the budget with his amendments in terms of the cuts that have been discussed earlier, I would suggest a few things to consider. President Hodge indicated that pre-kindergarten helps direct children for their future endeavors, possibly thinking it keeps them out of trouble, etc., redirects their activities, their thoughts. I remember many, many years ago when Head Start started, that was the same thoughts. And I understand that Head Start is somewhat different from the pre-kindergarten. However, a study by the federal government, not an independent agency, not a right-wing organization or anything else, indicated that the $80 billion spent dissipated with beyond third grade. Now, maybe that's because of the home, but we can't do anything about the home. So I wonder if pre-kindergarten actually does anything for the students. We can say that it does, but have we done a study? Have we done a cost-benefit analysis, is what I did as a manager. God forbid that we would do that in government. Another thing, there's an item, if I remember correctly, that we're going to start building a new library in Northeast. I wonder why we're building a new library if that's the case. In this modern time, libraries are not used, I believe, based on anecdotal information from a young lady I talked to today, what my sons did, etc., as they were before, because we have the internet. One of my grandsons was told to do a report, but he couldn't do it with books, he had to do it with the internet. So even the teachers, at least in one case, believe that the internet is the place to go. I didn't have an internet. I had to go to the library, I had to research articles, and I spent a lot of time in the library in Elton walking back and forth to home, which was a couple miles. That's not the need today, and I wonder if libraries in general have not outlived their usefulness in this modern society. At some point in time, we have to establish priorities. I don't have a Model T car because I don't want to get out and hand crank the engine to start it. I would much rather get in the car that I had and start it with my keyless, actually like a key, starting mechanism. So we leave things behind when they don't have as much use as they did before, so that we can take that money and invest it in other things. These are some of the things that I believe could be looked at, and there are probably others once you get down into the weeds. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Chris Gregory.
Good evening, Chris Gregory, 7 Canyon Way, Elkton, Maryland. Just had a few thoughts on the budget, and the process, as we've gone through over the last few weeks, just doing some research, things like that. I know a few weeks ago, Terry was praised for presenting a balanced budget. That's great, but is it a good budget? Is it a smart budget? There's no way that the small incremental cuts that have been introduced or that we're looking at contains every dollar that should be cut. Firmly believe that the council has not done your due diligence to go through this budget line by line. Budgets are not at the 50,000 foot level. I don't envy you all one bit. You got a lot of weight on your shoulders. But we can't look at this thing globally. We need to get down dirty. We need to go through the details, and we cannot make a rush to judgment, period. It has to be smart, it has to be thought out. Al had mentioned that we need to set your priorities. That's absolutely correct. That is budget and forecasting 101. What are your priorities? Not everybody's going to agree, obviously. Put more than 2 folks in the room, somebody's going to have an argument. That's not the point. What we need to do is we need to look forward in this county. We can't just look for this year coming up, what's going to happen. The decisions you make today about the budget, they're going to affect what's going to happen in the next 3, 5, 10, 15 years. You're going to set the precedent, period. That's what's weighing on you right now. I would caution you to rush the judgment on this budget. Have you thought through a trough management plan? Another basic budget planning 101. Your revenues decrease by X%. What are you going to do with your expenses? Are you ready to cut them if you need to? Have you already cut them deep enough? Obviously, the company that I work for, we were very deeply involved with the housing market. When the housing market crashed, we had a lot of tough decisions. Things are starting to pick back up. We are still running on the same budget that we established in 2007. We're still maintaining low expenses. It hurts absolutely every department. It does. That's just what you have to do to survive. We're looking for sustainability of our county, making sure we're making the right decisions moving forward. We can't rush this thing, period. We have to think this thing through. I think going to vote on this thing quickly is the wrong thing to do. Once again, make sure you set your priorities and weigh in on the budget, fair and balanced, and think it through before you rush the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Bill Spry.
Thank you for letting me speak here.
Could I failed to mention, would each speaker repeat their name and where they're from before you start?
I was getting there.
I just wanted to say that to everybody else.
My name is Bill Spry. I'm from Melton, Maryland. I was born here, been here all my life. I have a few questions on the resolution for the horse park. I couldn't find one outside, a copy of it, so I really don't want to talk about it as far as the resolution goes. But we went through this a few years ago, and public opinion, it didn't want to fly. They moved it to Anne Arundel County, and it didn't work there either. Now, Fairhill also already has a land unit management program in place. So I don't think the commissioners should, not commissioners, should be doing a resolution supporting something that we don't even know what it is yet. But that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Daniel Whitehurst.
Good evening, Daniel Whitehurst with Clark Turner Homes, 4685 Millennium Drive, Belknap, Maryland. I understand there's a motion or a desire to increase the sewer hookup fee for new residences in Cecil County from $8,000, which was increased probably about a year ago, from $8,000 going up to $16,100. I wanted to tell you how detrimental that would be to our projects, the Clark Turner projects, the Clark Turner Company, other builders in Cecil County, and all the contractors that we use to build our homes. An $8,000 increase in a sewer fee is so detrimental. If you look back at what national home building companies are making as far as return on their investment. It's only 2, 4, maybe 6%. You take a $200,000 townhouse and you increase it by $8,000, that's 4%. You're wiping away everything. How are we feeding the children of our employees? How are we getting people to work? Why would we make an investment in Cecil County in the future if the fees and the rules were going to change in such short notice? So I understand that there's a need to meet MDE requirements. I understand there's a need to increase capacity for certain infrastructure, but I ask you that you take whatever you have to increase rates and you do it over a longer period of time. Maybe something where it's $1,000 every 6 months allows for different builders to make an investment in Cecil County, knowing what the future will have as far as the rating schedule. So if you would, please consider a lower fee and a phase-in approach.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Fred Shekels.
Thank you. My name is Fred Shekels. I also work for Clark Turner Companies. I live in Moncton, Maryland, but I am a Cecil County landowner, and a significant amount of our business is done in Cecil County. I do want to just follow up with what Dan said and point out a couple things. I know the increase is very well justified by the cost of a new sewer treatment, or cost of an upgrade to the sewer treatment plant, but the need for the upgrade is to decrease the nutrients going to the Chesapeake Bay, which, according to everything that I read, is a shared sacrifice and not just put on the home builders. And I want to point out 2 things. One, the user rates are increasing, but only about 5 to 6%, which is above the rate of inflation, which that's what we all want our expenses to go up by, if at the most. But that equates to about $20 to $40 a year. Yes, it is an increase, but no, it's not $8,000. And you may say, well, these are black people, these are folks moving down from New Jersey. But the fact of the matter is, most of our buyers in Charlestown Crossing, I'd say about 75%, are move-up buyers from their residents of Cecil County moving up. The reason why there's no outcry is because they don't know about it yet, because they may have not made the decision to buy a new home, but they're living in an apartment, and they've got the American dream, and they love Cecil County. As Dan said, it does wipe out a significant amount of our profits, and the reality is we come to work every day to make profit. I'm not ashamed to say that. The other thing I'd like to point out is this does affect commercial users as well. So any new business making a decision to move to Cecil County will be affected by this. Again, they might not know this is happening today, but the fact of the matter it is, and it will affect these folks. Like Dan said, I ask that you, I understand the need for an increase, but a predictable, staggered increase is really what we desire. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Kathleen O'Connell.
Thank you very much. My name is Kathleen O'Connell, Elkton, Colorado. I want to be in Colorado. I really want to be there. Elkton, Maryland. Sorry. I have one question about the resolution on the Cecil County Employee Manual. Is that online?
It will be after introduction.
Right, it's just being introduced tonight. So.
Okay, so then it will be placed online? Okay. The other thing that I wanted to do was just kind of echo what Chris had said, and that's apparently there are a lot of issues about the budget and cutting additional things out of the budget and doing a lot of work and research on it. And I would just ask you to please not have a final vote on it until you have time to sit down and really look at it again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Rogers.
Good evening. My name is Mary Rogers. I live in Elkton, Maryland. I thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. Over the past year or so, I sat in this room and all the former commissioners and the new council members gave monies to various groups to start up their businesses and just, in my opinion, squander some of our tax dollars on other issues. Please, I know time is of the essence, but I urge you to take the additional time to make some cuts to the existing budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Michael Gatt.
Michael Getz, Elton, Maryland. Just want to comment on the horse initiative, horse park initiative. I haven't had a chance to see it. There's just a little bit, what I've seen is, doesn't look like there's any serious building proposed as was last time. But there is a little bit concern. There's like $70,000 or $80,000 being spent for a feasibility study. Stands to reason that money's being spent. It's expected that money's probably want to be made. Nobody likes to spend money without some sort of return. The park as it's managed right now is by the Department of Natural Resources, and their primary goal is for preservation, recreation, and resource management. It's been a very good caretaker for Fair Hill for many years. Many people get to enjoy it. We're not, again, there's nothing to see that's objectionable at this point. Looks like it's a linkage, which seems like a good idea. But if there's like buildings going on, there's concern that could lead to other things, displacement of users. If you were to look at the expenses at Fair Hill, the more you build, the more maintenance. The more roads, the more barns, the more roofs need replacing, the more electric has to go up. If you drill down and see what's going on there, that's where a lot of the expenses are going on. It's not in the trails, it's in the buildings and the infrastructure. Case in point, Rocky Gap State Park, if you were to pull that up, that was supposed to be a boom, an economic boom. They lost a lot of money out there. It was a state park. It's not a state park anymore. It's been leased out, it's privatized, it's a casino. Concern, I know again, starting out slow, but if they, again, more infrastructure, more expenses, next thing you know, we need a rescue. We need to build something else an economic, and I've heard this before, an economic anchor to support it. That's not what is good for the market. So, again, I just asked proceed with some caution, ask questions, and maybe it'll be good. Please proceed with caution. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker, please.
Ron Lopez.
Ron Lopez, Elton, Maryland. I'd like to ask the council to take one more week before you decide on this budget vote that's coming up, and look at this budget and see where things can be cut. I've been to so many of these things, and it's like a dog and pony show sometimes. I mean, I remember coming here a few years ago, and we had the Perryville Fire Department show up, and they absolutely had to have $235,000 to update the radios. Had to have $250,000 to update the radios. Luckily, the commissioners saw through this and turned them down for this money. Guess what? Perryville Fire Department's just fine without this $235,000 for new radios. Another dog and pony show we've seen in the past is the libraries. Library gets what, close to $4 million, I guess. Now they're asking for another $400,000. Have they ever, they'll line these people up, person after person, telling you how much they need to have this money so they can persevere in their endeavors. Let me tell you a little something about the library. I remember when the Hollywood Casino was going in, there was money to be given out to Cecil County. And first in line, Rising Sun Library. They need a new roof. I thought about this. I think at that time the library was, what, 10 or 12 years old, and they needed a new roof. My background, I do most of my work in Delaware. I work on a number of shopping centers. Some of these shopping centers are close to 5 football fields long, shopping centers that are a quarter of a mile long. And I maintain the integrity of these roofs for management companies and owners. So I'm pretty well versed on it. I went out there because I want to see where my tax money is going. That library belongs to me. Those people that work there work for me. I'm a citizen of Cecil County. They want $176,000 to do a roof. Whoever heard of that kind of money for a building that size for a roof? I got up on that roof because I wanted to see. First I went inside to find out where the leaks were. They were open, they showed me where the leaks were. They had 2 or 3 of them, one above the computer. First thing I would have done was move the computer, but no, it was still sitting there. So I went up on the roof and I found a couple of simple problems that they had. And I went and I called, I forget what the lady's name was, but she was in charge of maintenance for the libraries in the county. And I said, hey, you know, I think you can solve this problem for like a few $1,000s, $2,000 or $3,000. It's really simple. You've got a little bit of plywood popped. You don't need all the plywood replaced on this 3/4 inch plywood. They want to replace all the plywood and the roof on this thing. By the way, they spent $10,000 for an engineer or a consultant to come out and tell them that they needed all this work. You can get that kind of stuff done for free. Open up your mind a little bit. I suggested a fix that would probably cost $2,000 or $3,000 tops and probably would have fixed their problem. No, she was very adamant with me that she was going to get a new roof. I went by there a couple of years later, guess what? They got that new roof. Talk about arrogance. I would love to see somebody like that come in here and tell us how much money they saved the county, not how much they need from the county. In fact, if I would take it one step further, we have a public library and we have school libraries. In fact, 3 beautiful libraries. We don't need any more in this county. They want a 4th one now. We also have a number of school libraries. Why don't we think outside the box? Why don't we do what we ought to do and combine the libraries? Like Al Reason said, it only makes sense. People go to the internet anymore, and if they want an answer to something, they Google it. They don't always go to the library. I go to the library. You know what I go there for? To rent a movie. Either that or Netflix, but they're cheaper. It's on your taxpayer dollars, right? I would combine the libraries. I would shut down those 3 libraries, and I would open up the school libraries to the people, to the public, and update those, and think about downsizing a little bit. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Harold Mechanic.
Harold Mechanic, Elk Neck. I would like to ask the council president, what is the criteria for changing the minutes for instance, at the beginning of the meeting tonight, we talked about, are there any amendments to the meetings? And there seems to be one commissioner in particular who always wants to change the record.
Harold, this is not a question and answer process.
I'm sorry. Anyway, I would like to point out the fact that it's always the same council person that wants to change the record. It's usually because she put her foot in her mouth and wants to change it. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Jackie Gregory.
Good evening, Council. Jackie Gregory, Elkton, Maryland. I'd like to first thank the Council for an opportunity to speak. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the current budget. I do not believe that the current budget proposed is a responsible budget. I lay that at the feet of the Council, since one of your few powers is to appropriate funds. I do not advocate a slash and burn approach, but as a citizen and taxpayer, I expect the Council to go through the budget line by line, find points of agreement on what can and should be cut, and make those decisions for the benefit of taxpayers. I haven't seen that process play out this year with the Council, or really any real collaborative effort to actually delve into the budget in detail. This is very disappointing, to say the least. From the perspective of an average middle-class citizen, there are many things in my house that need improvement, which I can't afford to do all at once. They require me to break up the projects over the course of a few years. Yet, an example would be I see the library asking for a $400,000 increase on a $4 million budget in 1 year. It's over a 9% increase in 1 year, because they have a lot of improvements they would like to do at once. They should decide what is necessary to do now and what they want to defer until the next budget cycle. Also, I can't afford to send my son to camp for a week overnight, yet this budget asks me to pay for other people's kids to go on vacation for a week at North Bay. I don't believe the current budget is responsibly written. A rule for the use of the fund balance should be that only the amount gained in the fund balance over the course of a previous year should be used. Otherwise, it will be quickly depleted. You don't want to adopt G.W. Bush's economic policies: low taxes, increased spending, increased debt and deficits. Any new spending should be paid for by cuts elsewhere. I do appreciate the fact that this budget has effectively lowered property taxes through lower assessments, but increasing spending while cutting taxes is not a responsible plan. Also, I know there are new mandates beyond your control, such as WIP compliance and the teacher pension shift, and those things need to be explained to the public with dollar figures attached to them so that citizens understand what portion of new spending you control and what portion is beyond your ability to change. I believe that the teacher pension shift accounts for over $3 million of the new spending in the budget. In addition, I am aware that spending does not happen once a year, that many taxpayer dollars have been wasted and lost due to poor decisions in the past. We lost millions and gained a continuing financial burden due to the sabotage of the sale of wastewater plants to Artesian. That act alone adds $300,000 of unnecessary spending in this year's budget to upgrade those facilities. The last board also voted to waste $500,000 buying up development rights from a farmer to give them to the federal government. Citizens need to realize that the budget is not a one-day event, and I encourage citizen involvement in government beyond just the final budget passage. This council needs to vote down the current budget or delay it until you can come up with some more significant cuts. I did review the budget last night, and these are some of the things that I came up with. For the new capital road improvements, one question I have is, have bike paths been added to the design features of the roads in compliance with the new bike plan? If so, those new features should be stripped. It is not something we need right now. Getting rid of the turf field and replacing it with something else should eliminate a couple $100,000. The sick leave issue needs to be dealt with. I would cut the library budget significantly. They should defer half or more of the projects until next year. Cecil College should get flat funding. We already subsidize, if you look at the pie chart as far as what taxpayers subsidize for post-secondary education, we already subsidize the majority of Cecil College students' education. At the post-secondary level, the amount asked of taxpayers for the purpose of funding a college education should be much less than it is. College students are not small school children, and their parents need to take more financial responsibility for their own education. Improvements on Oldfield Point Road are slated for $800,000. I know that has been on the CIP for a while, but I live near there, and there's not any dire emergency that I see to upgrade the road. It is fine for now. It can be deferred until next year. I don't think there is any great emergency with the Rolling Mill Bridge either. If it isn't vital, that can be deferred until next year either. Those two road projects alone would save $1 million. The auditor can be cut or scaled down. An outside auditor to deal with particular issues that may arise may be legitimate, but we should not be paying a full salary and benefits to do the job members of the council are supposed to do. If a council member feels incapable of doing the job you were elected to do, without the help of an in-house auditor, then it's time for you to find a new line of work. The school budget has increased drastically. You have the new, they should not be expanding preschool beyond the state mandate, and the North Bay school trip is back in the budget. I ask you to, what I've listed above is probably close to $3 million in cuts. I would recommend flat funding for the schools plus the additional pension funds. I'm sure there's other people that can offer suggestions. Please consider them. If you choose to rubber stamp this budget without offering up significant cuts, there will be a lot of citizens, including this one, who will feel like we were duped into supporting folks who are going to use their business experience to run the government in a more efficient, taxpayer-conscious way. I sincerely hope you use your skills to cut the budget to a responsible, reasonable size. Thanks for letting me finish, too.
Next speaker, please.
Donna Cadell.
Donna Caldell, Elkton, Maryland. First thing I want to say is I saw most people were giving their address, not their street address, and I would ask that you encourage people to do that for safety issues, and that's all I want to say on that. Just give the town that you're from. Also, I agree with everything that Jackie said about the cuts. I think that I'm asking you to delay the vote because I was very disappointed. There was definitely not enough cuts made. I think that you need to sit down and go through line by line, work together. You're all conservatives, supposedly, you're all Republicans, okay? And that's what we elected you to do. So I'm asking you just to hold off for 1 week, that's most importantly. Another thing I just wanted to mention was June 6th, that Cecil County Patriots are having a Second Amendment Town Hall meeting right in this room. So I'd like to invite everybody, and that is at 7 o'clock. And also, next thing, I'm speaking not for the Patriots, but as a citizen. A couple weeks ago, there was a comment made about 3 branches of government, and the statement was made by a citizen that the executive branch cannot call the legislative branch, and that the president can't call Congress. However, that's not true. I looked it up. The president can call Congress in a special session. Article 2, Section 3 of the United States Constitution gives the president power to convene Congress or either house on extraordinary or special occasions. It is usual for the president, when calling an extra session, to indicate the exact matter that needs the attention of Congress. However, once convened, Congress cannot be limited in the subject matter that it will consider. Okay. The next thing I want to talk to you about is a poll that was in the Cecil Way that Diana Brunel had introduced, and it was, the poll said, do you agree with Diana Brunel's suggestion to add a public prayer to the beginning of council meetings? And she had said, I guess it was 3/4 of the vote. I'm not sure how many people took the poll. I believe that poll was skewed, and I'll tell you why. When she brought up the prayer, I mean, I believe in prayer too. But as a Christian, I was shocked and offended when I read the politically correct prayer that was on the website, that was on the county website. It took the name of Jesus out of the prayer, and it said Jesus couldn't be used. And it specifically said, all prayers are not to refer to a specific deity such as Jesus. The most offensive part, okay, that was it. The Bible says that Jesus is our predecessor. How can you take that out of prayer? In the Bible, Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh to the Father but by me. But yet you want to exclude him from prayer. God's word is very clear on instructing Christians how to pray. Jesus made it specifically clear, when you ask for something, ask in my name and it shall be given to you. I understand that not everyone believes that, but I believe as a Christian, when Councilwoman Brunel or the government starts telling us how to pray and what we can and can't say to be politically correct, it's time to run. It takes the whole meaning out of prayer. You see, a prayer should come from the heart, not from the government. It's about a personal relationship, not just an emotion. Christians must not compromise what is expected of us. I don't believe in taking Jesus out of prayer so I can accommodate the Satan worshiper next to me. I would rather go off in a quiet room or a closet and pray. And that's what God's word says. In Matthew 6:5 it says, and when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Truly I tell you, they have received the reward in full. But when you pray, enter the closet, and when you have shut your door, pray to your Father, which is in secret. And your Father which sees you in secret shall reward you openly. Commissioner Brunel, if it is your intention to have a prayer meeting, you can have a prayer meeting, but there's nothing from stopping you from organizing your own prayer meeting before the county meeting outside the room. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that any other last speakers that haven't spoken to this point?
Michael W. Dawson, Perryville, Maryland. I just wanted to Mr. President, thank you. I just wanted to briefly say that I support Jackie Gregory's idea of the council briefly taking a recess from considering the budget, consider the cuts that are available, consider the budget with diligence, and come back. You have until the 31st. I would ask that the council do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that ends the public comment section of our meeting, and we'll now allow the council members a few brief comments. We'll start with Councilwoman Bowlby.
I wanted to address the Forest Park, because I'm not sure that everyone understands it, and I'm trying to find the resolution really quickly, and I can't here. But what this resolution does is it supports a study of 3 locations, thank you. It authorizes the county executive to enter into an agreement between Cecil County, the Maryland Stadium Authority, and the Maryland Department of Business and Economic Development to conduct a feasibility study for establishment of a horse park in Maryland. When Mr. Petticord was here to talk about this proposal, he indicated that it doesn't necessarily mean that there would be one horse park, as it was originally presented to us several years ago, presented to the commissioners several years ago, that it could be a combination of Fair Hill and several other areas that have different venues that would make for a complete, accomplishment of activities that people wanted to do. So that I think that the concern is not, you shouldn't have a concern yet. I think we need to do the study, which is not paid for by, there's no Cecil County money involved in that study at all, none. But to have the study done to see exactly what they're recommending would be in our best interest. I don't want to walk away from an opportunity, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we would be building, doing huge buildings here, like was presented the last time. The other thing that I wanted to say was that the original budget that Terry Moore looked at was $11,791,569 gap between expenses. So Executive Moore reduced expense requests by $7,763,453 before the budget came to us. I just think that it's important for you to know that. I think that our financial officer, Winston Robinson, told us that when he presented the budget originally, but I'm not sure that everybody remembered that, because the budget is big. We are looking at more cuts, and we discussed more today. And so whether we need to take another week or not, that'll be up to the entire council, but I'm not opposed to doing that either. But I just thought that those were some important things that I wanted to say, because not everybody understood where we were on this. Thank you.
Councilwoman Ramel.
I'll start off with the horse park as well. I don't think the people are confused about the horse park. They're just remembering what happened before. They were waiting to hear what the project was, and there was never a delineation of what it was, no matter how many times we asked. And they're suspicious, and I think rightfully so. We need to get on the record what their intentions are. If this feasibility study is going to come back and say, for this to work, we need to have stadiums at Fair Hill. We need to have, we need to ask also, who would be running Fair Hill? Right now, it's the Maryland Park Service. Would it be, or DNR, would it be the Maryland Stadium Authority? There's a lot of people that are very good about Fair Hill, because so many people in the past have wanted to develop it. The people that donated it to the state of Maryland, it was supposed to be in perpetuity as a natural resource area for everybody to enjoy. It's in a preservation area. It's an economic engine for the county as it is. I think we should proceed cautiously. I know that the times that I've wanted to go to the Maryland Horse Industry Board meetings, it's always been on Tuesdays to where I can't go. I started sending representatives, but I think maybe we could have a meeting with Mr. Petticord and have the concerned citizens ask questions to see if maybe we can get enough answers to where it might address a few concerns. I wanted to say that I have been very adamant about this budget, outspoken. The Citizens Budget Advisory Committee that I requested be formed, two of them, this is their third time participating. Bill Feely was the previous treasurer, was very happy that he participated. They unanimously said that the Seneca Point Treatment Plant MDR process should not be pursued. The $30 million cost, we can do the same thing with a denitrification system. We were withheld information, the county commissioners at the time. Makes me question who's really running government, when we're not given the information. And if you go to my blog spot, dianabrumel.com, I've written 2 articles on this. And it's very comprehensive. That would save us $30 million. Would have requested a lot of cuts. The majority on this board shot those down. They didn't accept a single, well, I guess a partial now. This morning there was a change, but originally there was no adoptions of any of the budget advisory recommendations. This is, I have to say, this is what I expected of charter government. It's bigger government, it's more money, and it's a consolidation of power. Where's the checks and balances? Tonight we're going to be reviewing a resolution with the BLT monies. The majority on the board gave the indication that they're more than happy to hand that off to our county executive. Where's the checks and balances? She can allocate where she wants. The public has no recourse to ask her questions. She doesn't come before you. You can't ask her questions. I don't think that was the way it was set up to be. And she actually, when she was running for office, had proposed using the BLT money to fund a position. And it could set up to where they could use that money for political payback. So this is not originally what was sold to you as charter, but I think we need to reconsider this form of government.
Councilman Dunn, do you have any comments?
Just wanted to say thank you for coming out on this hot and humid evening, and as always, we appreciate your comments.
Councilman McCarthy?
Such venom. I sat here as everyone spoke, and I have 3 priorities, and let me break them down. Number 1 is public safety. That includes police, fire, and emergency services. Number 2, I have education that I really truly do not see as an expense, but as an investment in our future. Thirdly, the infrastructure. Without these 3 things, we go nowhere. One great man who basically led this nation through 5 years of civil war also started a national state university system and completed a transcontinental railroad. We need to think beyond today till tomorrow, or we go nowhere. This county is no different today than it was 30 years ago. What we're seeing now is a culmination of 30 to 40 years of no infrastructure spending. Thank you.
Okay, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming out and participating in the democratic process. I'll also say that if we haven't, we will provide all bills in the lobby. If they're going to be introduced, they will be on the table. And once they're introduced, they will be on the website. So is it a fact that there are no resolutions out in the lobby today for the Horse Park resolution?
We've run out of them.
Okay, we're not gonna run out again. Okay. Okay, all proposed resolutions will be in the lobby. All introduced resolutions will be on the website for the future. Okay. We're going to move on to introduction of bills. The first one is resolution number 42-2013. This is an amendment to the Cecil County Employee Manual. Mr. Massey, would you please read the short title of this bill?
Resolution 42-2013, Amendment Cecil County Employee Manual. A resolution to amend certain sections of the Cecil County Employee Manual, Section HR 001A, Cecil County Overview, HR 002B, Employment Types, HR 002E, Background Investigations, HR 002L, Separation, HR 006B, FMLA, HR 006C, Funeral Leave, HR 006H, Personal Floating Holiday, HR 006J, Sick Leave Insurance, HR 006L, Severe Weather Conditions and Unforeseen Designated Emergencies, HR 006M, vacation leave, HR 006N, workers' compensation, HR 007H, direct deposit, HR 007L, healthcare coverage, and HR 007R, sick leave pay. Introduced by the President on behalf of the Human Resources Department, introduced in order posted on May 21st, 2013, a public hearing scheduled on June 18, 2013 at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Earlier today, the Human Resources Department kind of gave us a description of these changes, but for the public's benefit, we'll allow the Human Resources Department Director, Ms. Nichols, to give us a short synopsis of these changes.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. As Mr. Massey indicated, the sections of the manual that we've been working on, making suggested changes to, the county executive appointed a committee that began in January, meeting every other week to discuss the policies that you have before you tonight for introduction. And as you indicated, the public hearing will be on June 18th. Just for, because I know your time is going to be taken up with the budget this evening, I'll just hit the highlights, and you all have before you the full section, so if you have any questions specific to that, please stop me. As was already mentioned tonight, due to the Affordable Care Act changes, we do have a change to our health insurance benefit section indicating eligibility for part-time employees 30 hours and up for health, dental, vision, and prescription changes, which would take effect January of 2014. The next change I'll mention is the funeral leave policy. Currently, our policy includes family members eligible for 3 days of funeral leave, and then other family members that are eligible just for 8 hours of funeral leave. Under the 8-hour category, we had father and mother-in-law, employees' grand and great-grandparents. The committee is recommending eliminating the 1-day funeral leave and putting the father and mother-in-law into the 3-day category and eliminating the great-grandparents, sadly. And the grandparents would be in the 3-day as well. And the committee certainly sought counsel of other county governments and municipal governments as well as to what their benefits were in making recommendations. Personal floating holidays, we currently have 3 personal holidays a year on a calendar year basis. The recommendation is to move to 5 personal floating holidays, but along with that, with the elimination of some other current sick leave benefits, to consolidate, I guess, the benefit, one of those being sick family time, which currently in our policy is allowed at 48 hours in a rolling 12-month period of time that an employee can use for a family member. We would eliminate that benefit, and also the scheduled sick, scheduled well benefit that has been added to the manual in the last few years, which allowed for employees to use their sick leave for well visit, annual physical, dental exam, things like that, and not get an occurrence for using their sick time. So we're recommending eliminating that benefit and increasing the personal days so that they could use personal hours. We allow employees to use personal time in 1-hour increments to use their personal time and sick time to attend to their annual wellness needs. The severe weather policy, some of you may be aware that in 2010 we changed the policy to indicate that employees who were, the county was closed for weather events, employees who were not scheduled to work, non-essential personnel would not be paid, and the essential personnel would not be paid anything additional to work on the closed day. That's what the policy was, or is actually today. And the recommendation is that we would pay employees while the county was closed if they were off, and employees who had to work that day would get another day at a later time to use at a future time. Other than that, there's some changes to, language changes based on law changes. The workers' compensation issue is based on, or changed to a new third-party administrator. It's some language that they recommended. And I think that's basically it. Do you have other
Thank you.
questions?
Do any of the council members have any additional questions that weren't asked this morning?
I just want to verify that we are going to have a work session on this sometime before the public hearing.
I think it's scheduled for next Tuesday at 2:30 is what I was.
Next Tuesday at 2:30, thank you.
Any other questions by the council members? Okay.
I was gonna ask, Donna, do you anticipate that we may be, reducing 30 hours, 39? Because now we have to provide, sick leave or, insurance?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Reducing 39 hours?
Our employees, do you anticipate, I know in the private sector, it's probably gonna happen because of Obamacare, okay?
Reducing the number of hours that employees
Yes.
work, you mean, I mean.
That would be up to,
Yeah.
county executive,
Exactly.
so, okay.
Okay, the council did ask for a fiscal note on this, which we will be presented later. The council is also going to have a workshop to discuss these proposals and bring up proposals that they have on their minds for possible amendment. Again, this is being introduced tonight. It will have a public hearing on June 18th, and it's scheduled for tentative consideration on July 2nd. So we will move on to the next introduction, which is resolution number 43-2013. This is an appointment of the council attorney. Mr. Massey, would you read this short title again?
Resolution number 43-2013, a resolution to appoint Jason Allison Esquire as council attorney for general legal opinions and advice in the law firm of Hunt and Bolton for special counsel, introduced by Council President Hodge, introduced and order posted on May 21st, 2013, scheduled for consideration on June 4th, 2013.
Thank you. Okay, is there any questions by the council members on this resolution?
Well, as I stated before, I do not support this. I believe the county council should have their own separate attorney because of separation of powers as was intended.
Is there any other questions regarding this resolution? Okay, we'll consider that introduced and ordered posted today, and we will schedule tentative consideration on June 4th. The next resolution for introduction tonight is resolution number 44-2013. This is an agreement to support a grant request for a feasibility study for the horse park, or feasibility of a horse park at Fairhill. Mr. Massey, would you please read the title into the record, please?
Resolution number 44-2013, a resolution authorizing the county executive to enter into an agreement between Cecil County, Maryland, the Maryland Stadium Authority, and the Maryland Department of Business and Economic Development to conduct a feasibility study for the establishment of a horse park in Maryland, introduced by Council President on behalf of the County Executive, introduced and order posted on May 21st, 2013, and scheduled for consideration on June 4th, 2013.
Are there any questions from the council?
President Hodge, you indicated it was for a horse park at Fair Hill. And the study is not for a horse park at Fair Hill, it's to look at all the sites in the state, as I understand it. Fair Hill may be decided that it's not appropriate if through this study.
Okay, I'm sorry, I stand corrected, you're right. I'd like to say that this study does not obligate the county in any way, shape, or form to move forward with any improvements to Fair Hill natural resources area at all. I think it's strictly a study to determine if it's a viable option, if it makes sense. We have made no commitment whatsoever to taking any further action other than to listen to the results of the study. And I think that that's the end of it. I don't think the citizens should panic or get prepared. There is no plan yet, but I think that there's an opportunity to see what the study will come up with.
President Hodge, is there a commitment on this board that if an arena is proposed, that we would not support it?
I think we need to look at the details of the study. I think it's premature for the council to make a commitment to do anything. All right, is there any other comments or questions by the council? Okay, we deem this resolution to be introduced and to be considered tentatively for June 4th. The next resolution is an agreement for tax credit between the Conowingo Mobile Home Park and Cecil County. Nutrient credit, I'm sorry. Mr. Massey, would you read this resolution into the record, please?
Resolution number 45-2013, a resolution approving a nutrient credit transfer agreement between Cecil County, Maryland, a body corporate and politic, and the Conowingo Mobile Home Properties, LLC, a Maryland limited liability company, in accordance with the Maryland Department of Environment, Water Management Administration's Maryland policy for nutrient cap management and trading in Maryland's Chesapeake Bay watershed, pursuant to which, and subject to approval of the Maryland Department of the Environment, Conowingo Mobile Home Properties, LLC, will permanently relinquish 105 pounds a year of total nitrogen, from which Cecil County, Maryland will accept 100 pounds per year of total nitrogen, with 5 pounds per year of total nitrogen retired, and Cecil County, Maryland will relinquish 50 pounds per year of total phosphorus from the Northeast River Advanced Wastewater Treatment Plant, from which Conowingo Mobile Home Properties, LLC, will accept 47 pounds per year of total phosphorus to be applied solely toward the compliance with the phosphorus load limit applicable to the Conowingo Wastewater Treatment Plant, with 3 pounds per year of total phosphorus retired. Introduced by the Council President on behalf of the County Executive, introduced and order posted on May 21st, 2013, and scheduled for consideration on June 4th, 2013.
Mr. Flanagan, do you want to give us a brief explanation of the purpose of this resolution?
Certainly. As I noted this morning during the council's work session, the Conowingo Mobile Home Properties, LLC operates a 129-unit mobile home community in the Conowingo area of Cecil County. The residents of that community have, up to this point, been served by an on-site disposal system that treats to a limited degree and disposes of the wastewater. The Conowingo Mobile Home Properties is being required by the Maryland Department of the Environment to replace that on-site disposal system with a small package wastewater treatment plant. And in so doing, they will have excess nitrogen credits, but they do not have enough phosphorus credits to get the discharge permit that they need for that packaged wastewater treatment plant. And so they approached the county and proposed a nutrient transfer whereby they would transfer to the county their excess nitrogen credits, and the county would transfer back to them some of our excess phosphorus credits, thereby allowing them to get the permit and proceed with construction of their packaged wastewater treatment plant. And it will also allow the county to accrue excess nitrogen credits. The Northeast River Advanced Wastewater Treatment Plant is constrained by nitrogen credits, and so any additional nitrogen credits which the county can accrue will be beneficial to us in the future.
Thank you. Are there any council members that have questions about this resolution? Hearing none, we deem this resolution to be introduced today, May 21st, and scheduled for consideration on June 4th. The next resolution is an amendment for a land purchase agreement with Home Partnership. Mr. Wine, Mr. Massey, would you read it into the record, please?
Resolution number 46-2013. A resolution amending a land purchase agreement dated July 6, 2012, by and between the Board of Commissioners of Cecil County, now the County Council of Cecil County, and Home Partnership of Cecil County for the sale of real property identified as parcel 1204, lot 1, map 10, which is located in the 3rd election district of Cecil County, containing 1.115 acres of land, more or less, together with the improvements thereupon, introduced by the council president on behalf of the county executive, introduced and order posted May 21st, 2013, and public hearing scheduled on June 18th, 2013 at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Mr. White, do you have anything to say about this?
Mr. President and council members, yes, as presented by Mr. Hodges, the developer representing Home Partnership.
Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
Mr. Hodges of Home Partnership.
Hodges.
Hodges has no relationship to Robert Hodges, council president.
Yes. This is essentially an amendment to a purchase agreement that the Board of County Commissioners executed back in July of 2012 relating to a 50-plus unit senior citizen apartment project on the former Buckworth Senior Center property located on North Street in the town of Elton. The amendment contemplates an additional purchase of land by Home Partnership of approximately 1/4 of an acre, and takes into consideration an additional purchase price that will fall between, pursuant to the agreement, will fall between $415,000 and $450,000, which will be subject to the results of an appraisal, which will be, I think, completed this week. Also, pursuant to state law, a public hearing has to be held relating to this project, and that's scheduled to be held on, or will be scheduled to be held on June 18th. As Mr. Hodges indicated, settlement is proposed to occur prior to December 30, 2012. There are many hurdles he has before the town of Elton, zoning and otherwise, that he is currently undertaking, so he has some hurdles to achieve, but the town of Elton is in support of the project, and it seems like he has some momentum with moving forward.
Thank you. Do any of the council members have any questions regarding this resolution?
You had said the anticipated closing was December 2013? Yeah.
Any other questions at this time? Okay, we'll consider the motion as introduced today, May 21st of 2013. There will be a public hearing scheduled on June 18th of 2013, and it will be tentatively scheduled for consideration on July 2nd.
Yes.
And I don't see that on our sheet. Okay, we're going to move on to the last resolution for introduction tonight, which is a resolution 47-2013. This is a policy and procedures for the Cecil County Council. Mr. Massey, would you read this resolution or the summary into the record, please?
Resolution number 47-2013, a resolution to adopt the council's policies and procedures pursuant to section 303E of the Charter of Cecil County, introduced by the County Council President on behalf of the council members, introduced and order posted on May 21st, 2013, and scheduled for public hearing on June 18th, 2013 at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the council members at this time? I'd just like to say that this has been worked on by the council members for many months. There's been a lot of discussion about the resolution, and we'd like to hear what the public has to say before we make a final decision. That public hearing will be scheduled on June 18th, and we hope that you read through our policies and procedures manual and give us some feedback on anything that you felt that we missed or what we could do to improve it. And then we will probably consider that also in June. No, I don't have, do we have July 2nd?
July 2nd.
Okay. We're going to move on to resolutions for consideration. And that brings us to resolution number 20-2013. This is an amendment to the zoning ordinance regarding home occupations. It was introduced on April 2nd, and we had a public hearing on May 7th. So, Mr. Massey, would you read this short title and listen to the record again?
Resolution number 20-2013, Amendment Zoning Ordinance Home Occupations. A resolution to amend the Cecil County Zoning Ordinance, Article 2, Section 12, Definition of Basic Terms, and Article 5, Part 3, Section 79, Home Occupations, introduced by the Council President at the request of the County Executive, introduced and order posted on April 2nd, 2013, public hearing scheduled on May 7th, 2013 at 7 p.m.
Are there any questions from the council members at this time? I'd just like to say that this was an amendment to the zoning ordinance that allows home occupations to be located in a detached structure on the homeowner's property rather than the previous requirement to require that the home occupation be within the structure of the home itself and not in any detached buildings. So if there's no questions, I'd like to have a motion for approval of the resolution.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 20-2013.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, there was a motion by Councilwoman Brunel and a second by Councilwoman Bowlesby. Is there any further discussion regarding the resolution?
The process that the applicant has to go through for a special exception is still the same, but I recall one person, applicant, that was not able to get a approval because of a technicality that his garage was detached from his home. And so this provides an additional option.
Any other discussion? Council Manager Massey, would you please call the roll call vote?
Dr. McCarthy?
4.
Ms. Bowlesby.
Aye.
Mr. Dunn.
Aye.
Ms. Bromell.
Aye.
President Hodge.
4. The motion passes 5 to nothing. Therefore, the resolution is also adopted. The next resolution for consideration is an appointment to the redistricting commission. Mr. Massey, would you read the short title, please?
Resolution number 37-2013, appointment to the redistricting commission. A resolution to appoint C. Ewing McDowell as chair of the redistricting commission for 2013. Introduced by Council President Hodge. Introduced in order posted May 7, 2013. Scheduled for consideration on May 21st, 2013.